the fact of the matter is, it depends on that board member going, A, it's a
Yeah.
property that I love. I want more of it,
Right.
please. Like Star
Right.
Wars. Good luck.
Right.
Good luck rebooting Star Wars. No
Right.
one will accept it. Or
Right.
B, all of this past stuff is stuff that I have to monitor and keep track of. No, thank you. Let's start fresh.
And it is
That's what it comes
overwhelming.
down to.
Yeah. And you know what, Darren, you brought this up, I think, in our last talk. 300 and some odd hours is a lot. And here's where I think Amazon is the perfect partner, because I was really worried when it was Disney there for a while that nobody gets the catalog business, even Disney, like Amazon does. They are not overwhelmed by 300 some odd hours. They are not intimidated by that. They are not intimidated by the universe. They are not in a position, the people that we know that work internally there don't look at that and go, oh my God, I'm exhausted. They're excited about it. The fact that they're given that much content to work with makes them salivate. So I hadn't even thought about that until just now. When I talk to those guys, it's like Matt with the Lord of the Rings, the fact that they have massive amounts of hours, but they're creating a whole new world. He loves that. It's a challenge to him. And they work cross-functional. So they work with licensing and merchandising, with books. So, I think that makes Amazon a partner that we're really, really lucky to have.
Okay.
If it's done right.
That worry that I imagine studios have about a deep franchise with 350 plus episodes to bring new people on board, and there's sometimes a perspective that that's a liability, bringing new people on board.
Well, look at Doctor Who. I mean,
I see just the opposite.
I agree.
New fans, something really remarkable has happened in Stargate fandom over the last 5 to 7 years, which is new viewers catching it on streaming and binging it, and they come online and they ask questions like, why can't you walk the other way through an open wormhole, and how did Apophis redial the Stargate in Children of the Gods? And all the questions that we've been talking about for 20 years, everything is new again because folks are coming on board, and those 350 episodes are a massive asset for viewership.
Gold mine.
Because people are looking now in the streaming market, they're looking around and saying, what's a show that I can get into that's not going to be done in 20 episodes?
Right.
That I can really sit and live with and be a part of this universe for a relatively long term. And Stargate is that in spades.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I was blown away by in March of 2020, I was closing out all of the analytics and social and everything and handing it over back to Kyla and those guys at MGM. And one of the things that I kept coming back to, that I talked to her at length about to double check my numbers, was the growth in the 18 to 36 year olds in Stargate. And I watched over 6 years. It went from, if we did 18 to 25, and then we would do 26 to 42. In both of those, I watched a growth year over year of 106% in those demographics. Now, we don't divvy it by millennial, Gen X, Gen Z. It's by those very specifics, because you're talking about 18 to 26 is going to college, just getting out of college. So there's a lot of binging, a lot of streaming. Then you've got 26 to 42, which is earners. They become independent earners. So there's a very definitive difference between those two. And what I was blown away was by the college one. Okay, you know what? I kind of get it. Sure. The new earners, it grew from 18% to 36% of the audience was that 26 to 42 year old or 44. I was blown away in that 6 years. And that has continued to grow from what I've seen. So the social sentiment, I don't have access to the numbers obviously anymore that MGM has, but looking at the sentiment and using my social tools, that has continued to increase. So Darren, to your point, this should be something that Amazon is absolutely, okay, we're throwing our hat in the ring for this. We're all over this. I think one thing that I haven't mentioned that is going to be really important is for everybody to remember that there are a lot of priorities of IPs at MGM. And so it's not just about unraveling and figuring out all of those contracts and carriage licenses. Carriage licenses basically just means licenses have been given to carry this product on a particular cable channel or Pluto or whatever, and distribution deals worldwide. It's the fact that MGM owns an enormous amount of IPs that have to be prioritized. And there are certain ones like Rocky and others that are prioritized right now over Stargate. What comes back to is I really want to know more about Vernon Sanders, who's in charge of TV. And I want to know more about what Mark Burnett's thinking. Because those are going to be decision makers. Because Rob Hochberg and those guys can bang the drum all they want in creative, but those two are the decision makers.
You ready for questions?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, wait, did you want to talk about the antitrust thing?
I mean, at this point, I need to get to questions.
Okay, go for it.
It's good.
If anybody wants to know about the antitrust thing, David and I can answer those questions separately because we did research on why it is not an antitrust issue.
Yes, absolutely. So the winner. So earlier at the beginning of the show, I talked about a giveaway from over at Big J Customs. We have a custom made Daniel Jackson pop figurine.
So cool.
It's so cool. And that is going to be going to Linda Franklin. So Tracy, if you could reach out to Linda in the chat there and see if Linda would be willing to provide her email address.
Super jealous.
To Tracy so that we can email her and get a physical address to send this little signed by Michael Shanks Daniel Jackson custom made pop figurine over to her.
So cool.
Linda asked, Jenny, how is fandom for the Stargate franchise truly measured internally at MGM? What are the component parts that come together to assess
such
that?
a great question. All right. So for anybody who is a burgeoning social analyst or wants to get into data science or into marketing, that's a great question. So over the past 6 years, there are several companies and several tools that have become extremely popular internally at marketing and social departments. At every studio, social departments have now been delineated, digital marketing, from the overarching marketing department. And every social department, regardless of what channels you own for your IP franchise, have tools and or internal databases that they use to churn out reports that analyze data across anywhere between 11 to 12 channels. So it will never just be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. It will include YouTube. It'll include blogs. It'll include sites like Gateworld. It will include YouTube chats. So all of those are crunched, essentially. The data is crunched. And they do what's called a scrape or a net. And what they do is quarterly, usually, they look at what I just talked about, which is how many times is Stargate mentioned across the most popular channels, by our official channels in terms of responses. So they look a lot at when they put something out on an official channel, how much response and engagement did they get? Engagement is a lot harder than it used to be to parse out. It used to be that we cared about impressions, which was just how many people saw it go by. Nobody gives a crap about that anymore. What they care about is, did you engage? And so for every fan here, which I think you know, because I talk about this all the time, sorry, ad nauseum, is that it's when you engage across those channels. So talking in this chat, be responding to anything that Darren publishes that's an article, anything that David does, not just as viewership, because viewership is important, but it is not important as the engagement.
Thank you for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving us a thumbs up with that like button. It will encourage the algorithm to show this to other Stargate fans. Also, please consider sending this to a fellow Stargate friend. I also want to invite you to subscribe to future episodes right here on YouTube. We are a live show, so changes are likely to happen all the time. And if you plan on joining us live, you'll want to be the first to know. Be sure to visit dialthegate.com for the complete guest schedule so you'll know when to join us and ask your very own questions to our guests. See you on the other side.